So after hitting Master Rank 4 on July 25th, we were able to hit Master Rank 3 on July 26th, but then the game updated, wiping the match history, and since then, yesterday on the 27th, we were only able to play 2 matches, winning both of them, which is nice, currently on a 5-win streak with, of course, Floowandereeze. But I did save some of my matches from my Rank 4 run, which I will be going over with you today. Some of them are pretty cool matches, so I think you'll want to stay tuned. The final thing I'll say before we get started is with just 2 days left, I don't know if I'll have the time to really try to grind for Master Rank 1. Probably not, so unfortunately this might be the end of the road, but I guess if you want to find out, stay tuned. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of these matches though with the updated Floowandereeze deck list, which is linked in the description, the video for it that is. You know, the game doesn't feel great when you draw these good going first hands when you're going second and no board breakers, which means your opening hand is just going to get straight up negated by your opponent's board, or you get a hand like this when you're going first and I'm like, oh, this would have been nice to see when I went second. Nonetheless, what I do here is extrave into a Duel, into a Prosperity, and a Fossil Dyna, and I basically just try to convince my opponent that I'm not on Floowandereeze, I'm on just a stun deck. So I summon Patchy, set 3 back row and pass. The opponent reveals that they're on Tearlaments, and you might think, what are they doing here with this normal summon? But the Scream will actually lower the attack of the Patchy to 700, which means the Merly at 800 can beat over it. So the Merly does hit. I can believe this, like they couldn't hit a name that they wouldn't be able to use. They actually hit Sulik, which is going to get them the Sharon, which is going to enable them to play during main phase 2 after they beat over the Patchy. So the small silver lining here is that I don't get OTK'd when I want a coin flip. The opponent's going to set up a pretty strong board though, revealing the Foolish Burial, dumping Havness, and at this point they're just going to go full setup, hit Kalos on field, returning the Rhino Heart that they also dumped into the graveyard, and they're going to summon Sharon as well now and continue to mill. Oh my goodness, get Kalos mill. Oh, they're just going to get everything they need here. I'm not even going to try to commentate over this. This is just Tearlaments doing what they do. They literally have every single name on board, and they know probably that they don't need to go for Rukalos because I'm using Patchy, which means I'm not special summoning. So Elf now dumping or bringing back the Diviner, dumping the Kel back, and now they know I'm on Floowandereeze. And look at this, how sad is this? All of my one-ofs, my one-of Trap, my one-of Ryza, my one-of Mpin, all milled. My third Dark Ruler milled because I got 2 in rotation right now, and they spun back my Advent, by the way, which doesn't feel great. And I lose a Shifter here. So now they know I'm on Floowandereeze. They go into Time Thief, Redoer as well, set a back row, and I'm just like, wow, this guy really just got the nuts, everything they need. We draw a map for turn. Time Thief grabs a spell card, which is a draw for them. We're going to flip up the Dark Ruler, and I'm like, okay, flip up Dark Ruler, activate evenly. I'm not out of this match just yet. Of course, they hard draw the Crime, and I'm like, bro, you cannot be serious. This is the card, these kind of Omni-Negate cards is what makes these archetypes overpowered. I know Tearlaments is a good archetype, but imagine if they don't have Crime here. They can't negate evenly, they can't negate Dark Ruler. This Crime now is going to allow them to go full setup once again. They're going to trigger Kaleido, spin back my evenly, which you can argue Quantum, well, you shouldn't have set those cards. Yeah, but again, it's the psychological aspect of the game. So I lose my evenly, and like I'm in a super bad position. Of course, they're going to go for Dragostapelia because they know I'm on Floowandereeze now. Thankfully, we do have a second Dark Ruler, and we have a Pot of Prosperity, and thankfully the opponent's not on Ash. So they're going to attempt a Time Thief for some reason, knowing that they're Dark Rulered, but it's fine. This Prosperity reveals Book, Advent, Robina, Shifter, Evenly, and Toucan. I thought here for about 30 seconds, and you might be thinking, Quantum, you just took Robina, why wouldn't you take the Evenly Matched? I thought for 30 seconds, and I'm like, if they're smart, they keep Time Thief, because Time Thief will allow them to draw and get a Sharon next turn. I would have used my battle phase, which means I can't out the Time Thief Redoer if I used Evenly on it, which means its effects are no longer negated for the next turn. They just combo off full combo next turn, and I lose. So I'm like, I have to go for the Robina, hoping that I can go for a setup. And again, my Mpin is banished and my map is banished, so I'm in like a really bad spot. But let's see what I can do here to try to pull this out. We're going to go ahead and activate map, of course, reveal Robina, and we're playing with 2 cards, right? You might be thinking, the opponent's probably thinking this is over. So for some reason, again, they try to activate Dragostapelia, but again, you can see Dark Ruler no more putting in that work. Whereas Book of Moon, I would have still had to have tried to play through all of these other interruptions if I just booked the Dragostapelia. So if you're wondering why I'm playing multiple Dark Rulers now, or maxing it out at 3, this is the reason why. Even against Tearlaments, it's doing work. So we're going to go ahead and grab the Stree and the Toucan. Notice I didn't go for Eaglin here because I need my Mpin. So Stree is going to banish Mpin, and I want to be very clear here. somehow the opponent did not mill a shuffler. If they milled a shuffler, I lose, right? I just want to make that clear, because I attempt to banish the Empen, they just shuffle it back into the deck. That's game. I lose. So thankfully no shuffler. We're going to go ahead and grab the Empen that we just banished now with the Street with the Toucan, and we're going to go ahead and make sure we tribute off the Robina so we can get it back to hand, as well as the Toucan back to hand. This is important because if I tribute it over the Street, I couldn't bring it back to hand. I need to be able to bring both these birds back because I have to use the Empen to beat over something in the battle phase, and I'm going to have to do that by banishing one of the cards in my hand. So the Empen is actually going to search for Unexplored Winds, obviously because I can't use Trap, but at least I can use Trap to banish and flip the field face down. This is important because the Empen's Floodgate ability to negate special summon monsters in attack mode, all of these monsters were special summoned, which means when they flip them up during their turn, they're all going to be negated by Empen. They can't, well, they're not going to resend with Diviner because it's only on summon, but they can't Dragostapelia negate, they can't Time Thief Redoer, they can't Kaleido if they end up dumping another Aqua name, they can't Elf. They'll all be negated by Empen when they're flip face up. So I'm going to go battle phase here and actually beat over the Kaleido, using the Toucan to banish and getting the Kaleido cut in half to beat over it. Main phase 2, activate the Unexplored Winds and just hope that the opponent doesn't have a strong follow-up game here right now. So they realize that if they flip up their monsters, they're going to be negated, so they're going to super poly their own field, discarding the Heartbeat, which is crazy. I guess that's the only way they can get rid of Heartbeat, because I mean Heartbeat could get back the Crime, but it's not live because they don't have a monster. So they end up super polying away their Time Thief and the Dragostapelia here and going for Mud Dragon. Now my thought is maybe they thought they could do a synchro play with the Diviner, but I mean it's a 2 and a 4 and they can't really do anything. So now they're left with like what was a really powerful opening board to just an Elf, a Diviner, and a Mud Dragon, and a Scream that's offline basically, because they have no Tearlament name in rotation. And at this point, you know, we have map if they normal summon, which they obviously didn't, but they can't do anything with their setup because next turn they know we're just going to go Robina full rotation, get another tribute monster, probably Snowl or Apex. Well, it has to be one of those two because they're the only two left in my deck. And we're just going to take control of the matchup here, recycle our trap card, and the opponent ends up scooping there. So somehow with a Bricked Hand going first and getting like completely wiped out on the second turn by the opponent's incredible combo on their follow-up on their first turn going second, we're somehow able to come back and win the match. And this, I believe, was the match I won in Master Rank 4 in order to get into Master Rank 3. So kind of crazy. Alright, in this matchup, our opening hand going first doesn't look half bad, assuming we can unbrick with the pot card. So we're going to start with Extravagance to draw 2. Ash check, no Ash on the opponent. We draw into Snowl, but we're going to go ahead and activate Duality, which does reveal what we're on. And despite revealing an Eaglin, I can't play with any of those cards, so I have to take the book to hope that Patchy can buy me one more turn. The opponent most likely on Labyrinth given their sleeves, but they're on more than 40 cards, which is questionable. They set 3 and pass, and again, this setup here, Patchy will prevent the opponent from using the Welcome Labyrinth cards. However, if they have an Imperm, that's all it takes to shut off the Patchy, then they can set up their engine and beat over it. So they apparently do not have the Imperm, and so Patchy just goes straight beat down for 12 and passing turn off of setting the evenly matched. The opponent reveals Chandelier, which they're going to attempt to use to beat over the Patchy. They pitch a Big Welcome to reset a Big Welcome here, and on the end of the battle phase, we're going to activate that evenly that we set, outing the opponent's 2 cards, keeping them on just 2, one of which we know is Big Welcome. Now, we did draw the Unexplored Winds, which we can use now to draw cards with, and also use it if we really wanted to tribute off the opponent's card and our own Patchy, but we end up drawing into Robina off of the Advent, or off of the Unexplored Winds, and that was enough to make the opponent surrender. Alright, in this matchup, our opening hand to go first with actually isn't the greatest, but you know, because it does play into a hand trap, but it could be great if we can resolve our cards here. The opponent ashes my Duality, which I'm like, okay, well, that should allow me to play with the Advent of Adventure, and you can see what I do here is I bait the Imperm with the normal summon of Eaglin. I don't immediately go for Advent, and now this way I can resolve both my Eaglin, dodge the Imperm, and still get my Robina to hand. So that gets 2 cards out of the opponent's hand in rotation there. And off of the Robina, we're going to get back the Eaglin and search for Street. Normal summon Street to banish the Advent. The opponent reveals Havness, and they mill Keldo, and then 2 meaningless cards. So good for us for once, getting some luck on not getting the opponent to get the busted nuts off of a mill. We set 2 back row and pass Let's see what is the opponent going to do. We like seeing that. Switch to defense, set a card, and pass turn. Before the end phase, we are going to Dreaming Town, and you already know we're going to set up. So Eaglin is probably going to search for Ryza. Yep, because we want to keep the opponent locked. We're going to summon that Robina, grab back the Street, and search for the Toucan, so all birds in rotation now. Toucan's going to grab back the Advent that we banished with the Street last turn, and then we're going to go ahead and bring out the Ryza here, targeting the opponent's Keldo to force them to use it or have it spin back to the top of their deck. They realize that they are locked up, and they scoop it up.